In that book, I talk about my experience growing up as a Muslim girl in Canada to a family of Islamists. Islamists are Muslims who believe in spreading Islam politically. Some choose to use violence. Some choose to use more diplomatic means. In my book, I warn people in the West that they need to pay attention, that there are enemies amongst them. I grew up going to Islamic schools, going to the mosque, and living in an Islamic community of people who hated the West and who believed that in order for the West to gain salvation, everybody must become Muslim. The aim is to have that happen through any means necessary. When I was 19 years old, I was forced into a marriage with a member of Al-Qaeda. His name is Assam Marzouk. He's currently in prison in Egypt. When I was married to him, I had to wear niqab, that's covering myself head to toe in black. I wore black gloves, thick black socks, and my face was entirely covered in black. Even my eyes were not showing. I had a daughter with him, and it was when I had that daughter that I realized that I needed to get out of this world. I needed to get away from him, and I needed to get away from all of these misogynist and oppressive edicts that were going to rip any idea of freedom away from my daughter. When my daughter was a little baby, her father and my mother talked about taking her to Egypt to have FGM performed on her. They wanted to take my little daughter, as soon as she was of age, to Egypt, where they were going to mutilate her perfect little body with razors, because they felt that that's what their religion demanded that they do. I knew that I had a limited time to protect my daughter and to get her out of that house before that day would come. Through a series of very difficult and very lucky events, I was able to get out of that house, get away from him, and get away from my mother as well, and to start my life all over again with my little daughter, going to university, something I never imagined I would ever be able to do. And when I was in university, I took a history of religions course. And in that course, for the first time, I was able to critically examine Islam. So I was intellectually bombarded. Simultaneously, 9/11 happened. And there I was emotionally bombarded. When the 9/11 attacks happened, everyone in the Islamic community was celebrating. This is what caused me to finally decide that I didn't want to be part of this community anymore. I didn't want my daughter to grow up in a community where people were celebrating the deaths of innocent people. Once I renounced the religion, I knew I was putting a bullseye right on my forehead. The first person to threaten to kill me was my mother. I changed my daughter's name, we moved away, and I didn't tell anybody where I was. And I lived quiet for many, many years.